Well, hello there. Welcome to another Reddit video. My name, of course, is Evan Edinger. Today's Ask Reddit thread of choice. We're saying, what is a trade secret you know from working in the industry? Time to get some juicy secrets and hopefully save some money and whatnot. Let's see. So, top comment we've got, if you ship through FedEx Express, if you're sending many packages and envelopes to a single stop, ship one priority overnight and the rest of them standard. They'll all be delivered together with the priority package. Ooh, amazing. I wonder if this works with DPD or every Hermes, the worst company in the world in the UK. Because that would be amazing. You just pay for really good shipping for one of them and then whoop, get the rest. However, I don't know who's buying lots of packages these days, but useful, just not for me. I guess it makes sense because no delivery driver is going to want to return to the house multiple times when, well, do these just sit around in the house? No. Oh, and there we go. We have someone saying, Express Courier here. This is on point. I hate having to go double back on a stop. So if I see a business priority and 3 more standard, I get giddy, because I can do that as 1 stop instead of 3. Wow, here's a long one. A resistor is made in Japan. It's wrapped in plastic and shipped to Michigan. It is installed into a small PCB. It is then wrapped in plastic and shipped to Taiwan. That PCB is installed on a sideboard connector and a part of a larger PCB shipped to China. And that PCB is installed in a small housing via harness shipped to India. That housing has its microchips programmed on the outside and given chemical treatment. It is then shipped back to Michigan. The housing is now treated and installed in a car side mirror. Well, it's then shipped to Ohio. The side mirror is run through post-production programs to check for defects. It is then shipped to Detroit. It is then installed onto a car. Every single step of that shipping, every single component is wrapped in plastics. Millions of them per car to over half a dozen locations each. Something like 50 million cars are produced each year. Your straws aren't doing shit for the use of plastics. Automotive production and diagnostics engineer. Yikes. But also, yeah, I feel like do people actually think that the straw thing is making a huge difference? I always thought it was pretty much just performative of drinks companies to be like, guys, even though we're using loads of plastic cups, this tiny aspect of it is now paper and is really hard to use and annoying and is not really good alternative, but you can feel good about us as a brand. But yeah, pretty much anytime you think, oh, we've got to do our best, it's always corporations that are basically making it so that you are the tiniest drop in a giant bucket. If we really want to make sure that we're all doing our part, we'd all be fighting for corporations to actually be more green and not just become carbon neutral by buying fake offsets. There's a Wendover Productions video you should watch if you haven't seen it yet about how the whole carbon neutral stuff is pretty much just a scam. And it's not to say we should completely ignore our carbon, it's just that with the amount that corporations are pumping into the ecosystem, it's not us. There's literally nothing we can really do except fight the corporations. We actually did find and file that bug in your video game. Our leadership just decided it was okay to ship with it. Ooh. If you want to book a car rental but they're sold out, just book it for a week or 2 longer than when you need it, and then just return the car early and you'll only get charged for the time that you actually had it. All of the systems owned by Enterprise, Rent-A-Car, Enterprise, Alamo, The National, etc. automatically open their system up to long-term reservations and make sure you get a car over someone who only booked it for a day or 2. Worked there for 2 or 3 years. It's a dirty business, but at least I learned a lot of rental hacks. That is a huge hack. Wow, that's actually really useful. The amount of times I've tried to rent a car in LA and stuff, and it's just like, oh, there aren't any cars available. Just say you need it for a little bit longer, maybe 2 weeks. However, I'm fairly certain there are a lot of companies that will still charge you even if you take it back early. You just have to read those incredibly extensive contracts. When I rented a car in LA when I was there in February though, it was so bizarre how it felt like even their computers were still built on 1980s OS. Really unupdated dinosaur companies that rental cars. Most electronic medical records allow providers to put pop-up warnings in your chart if you act verbally or physically aggressive. So if you yelled at an ER nurse in 2017, the medical assistant you called today begging for a last-minute appointment can see that. Ooh, you know, I kind of like that. As someone who will never yell at someone, I just feel like, good. That should be in your file to be like, an absolute dick. Even if you're pretending to be nice, don't yell at staff, especially in something like that situation with nurses and such. So there you go. It comes up as aggression warning. We can also see if you are an elopement risk, high fall risk, or on suicide precautions, lots of EMR banners. What's an elopement risk? Run away? You're just gonna run off? Question to any junior doctors out there in the UK. Do we have a similar system in the UK within the NHS, or is this primarily a US thing? I assume that you'd have something like this in the UK, but I'm unaware. Please leave a comment. I'll make sure to give it a big ol' heart. If you're buying software for your workplace and get a quote and then go silent until it's the end of the quarter, then call the sales rep and tell them you can buy it today, but you only have enough budget for 70% of the cost, the chances you get a discount go way up at the end of the quarter. Ooh, that's dastardly. That's quite fast. Yep, that's good. I mean, I'm not working in an office at the moment, but I 100% could have used this back when I worked at a startup. On any piece of machinery, if the welds you see look like the welds you don't see are even worse. Basically, any type of machinery you get from Amazon. Calls are not being answered in the order they're received. Oh, and let me guess, it's not unusually high call volume, it's just that they haven't hired enough people to actually answer the calls within a reasonable time frame? No. It's just that it's still a COVID thing. It's not that we're purposefully understaffing so that we make the most money from our call centers and have you wait 45 minutes. It's the COVID stuff. You remember that? Yeah, that's why it's really shit. Please, it's not our fault, guys. Basically, HSBC. If you are wondering what's taking so long to process your loan application, it's because I forgot about it. No! This is not what happened in my case. I literally called them every day. I would not let them sleep. They did not forget about my loan application. They hated me, but I got through. I own my own place now. Thank you. Worth it. But I'm sure that is the case. Casinos don't need to cheat. We've already rigged the game against you. Yeah, I do feel for people that have gambling addictions, because me, I look at that and I'm like, how? You literally have a less than 50% chance of winning over time. So you could get lucky, but most of the chances you have are you're going to lose. So yeah, I don't like casinos. I will not really spend much time with casinos. I learned from playing Neopets, okay? I gambled my Neo points away and I never got it back. So luckily, you learn those mistakes as a kid. You live and learn. The urine pregnancy test you take at the doctor's is the same as the Dollar Tree one. Yes, except the doctor's one is gonna cost your insurance so much more money in the States. When you order at the drive-thru, the microphone stays on until you move forward. So everyone inside the store with a headset can hear your conversation until you leave the ordering area. I guess that makes sense. I feel like you shouldn't have embarrassing conversations within earshot of people with your window open anyway, but that's good to know. That's good to know. Oh, pro tip, turn off your windshield wipers while going through the drive-thru. It pelts the workers with rainwater. Tourism industry here. Look up when peak season is for the destination you're looking at. There are usually cheaper prices at the beginning and the end of the season. Try to book at the beginning of the season. Seasonal workers have run themselves ragged and are usually completely burnt out at the end. So at the beginning of a season, everyone's stoked to start making money again. Oh, good to know. For traveling, look at the beginning of the peak season. So like summer, if it's a summer destination, or I guess right before winter for winter destinations. Having a crew that can pass a drug test is not the same as having a drug-free crew. When one guy can pass a drug test, everyone can pass a drug test. It is really that so many companies require drug tests for things that can be done when you're not at the job. Like for instance, flight attendants have to pass loads of different drug tests, and I know a lot of other career paths have this as well. For not, obviously, you shouldn't be under the influence of anything when you're doing your job, sure. But the things that are like traces in your system from, let's say, a weekend away in Ibiza, really? You're gonna be fired because I find that an invasion of privacy myself. But hey, corporations run the US, they can make their own laws, so. Movie industry, unless you're absolutely breathtaking in an audition, which does happen, don't get me wrong, there is a list of 30 people each studio prioritizes to be in the major films. I mean, that makes sense. I have seen La La Land. Most fossils in museums are replicas. What? Ruining my childhood. These days, they're usually plastic casts of silicone molds of real fossils. Oh, 3D printed replicas made in high resolution scans are becoming more and more part of things. Then what's the point? I thought the whole point of going to those dinosaur exhibits to be like, whoa, like this is an actual dinosaur skeleton. A replica doesn't quite do much justice, does it? It's like basically looking at an image on Google except three-dimensional. You're like, oh, okay, it's not quite the same thing. If I said this tire and this satellite have been into space. It's like, wow, that's so cool. That was in outer space. Well, no, it's a 3D print of something like that went into space. This one's big. If a medical professional ever suggests you get a second opinion, e.g. nurses at the doctor's office, it can be code for they're really concerned about the quality of medical care that you are currently receiving, and that you really should get that second opinion. Oh my God. That is something I've never thought about before. I've never been told I should get a second opinion from the NHS, but I guess I could. To be fair, to give you guys an update, I thought I had some massive hernia thing. I was getting in severe pain a month or two ago, especially after I did workouts, and it caused me to like spasm. I went to the hospital, and I'm still waiting. It's been, I think, 6 weeks since I went to the NHS to sort that out. Probably because it's not life-threatening. Things are now okay. I don't have the pain anymore, but we still don't know what caused it, and I'm scared to go to the gym. So, yeah, it was free. But because it's not really life-threatening and not causing me severe harm every day now, you know, I'm put on a big long list. All I'll say is wash the tops of your canned goods before opening them, folks. For the love of God, do it. Oh God, who do you work for? Not sure if any of this is a secret, but if you can't find a book at your local library, ask the reference librarian to do an interlibrary loan. That way you can get what you want. They have access to a large network of libraries and are able to share materials, sometimes even across state lines. That's nice. Oh, they've got ebooks, audiobooks, and etc. Good to know. You can check out national park passes at the library. So basically, instead of just going to Yosemite, you stop by the library and pick up a pass. All right, arcade crane games have knobs inside of them that let you control how strong the claw grabs. So you basically make the claw really weak strength, and there's a setting in the motherboard to make the claw go full power after a certain number of plays, whatever the arcade or owner decides how often they want people to win. I think this is pretty much well known at this point. As a kid, I used to win those all the time, but the fact that it's just after a certain amount of money has been put in, you can win, is that feels like it shouldn't be legal, right? It feels like there's no chance in winning. It doesn't have the strength. Then it's basically like, put money in and hopefully enough money has been in for you to win this prize. Really stupid. The US military wastes an extraordinary amount of money, and not necessarily on weapons or personnel or anything like that. Every year, commanders must submit their total spending for the previous year. If they did not spend the granted amount, well, they lose it next year, similar to a lot of companies. It looks like the US military is run like a corporation. So for example, if a commander is granted $5 million and his building only spends $4 million, well, next year his budget drops because that was unnecessary. And so the results in commanders ordering expensive stuff in bulk, replacing good furniture and equipment, and enacting pointless construction projects such as a parking lot that they don't actually need. Great example, when he couldn't make budget, our commander ordered 360-inch TVs and had them placed in hallways, spare rooms, and tossed the remainder in storage. Each TV was overpriced by about $1,000. Commander met his budget though, so I guess it was a success. Welcome to the bloated US military. That sounds awful, especially because everyone in America is paying so much tax to keep this bloated thing alive. That is really horrible. You'd think that his higher ups would be like, no, that's not what this is intended for. And they'd be like, we need these 360-inch TVs. It's disgusting. Edit. I realize most of the government works this way, but this is my specific experience in the military, which is arguably the most bloated and overfunded piece of the government's budget. Sad. Oh, this one's really important. Before moving into a new rental, make sure you take a video walking through and mentioning and pointing out everything and anything. Mark the date, time, address. If they give you a small form to write on, make your own. This can save you lots of issues when you move out. Same thing I'd highly recommend if you're ever renting a car, just because this is just ingrained in me. Anytime I rent a car, before I even get in it, I always take my phone and I record a 360 video around it, and I go inside and do the same thing. Just in case something happens, they said, what's this dent? You have to pay. No. I did not have that dent there. I saw Joe Lycett made a really good video recently about loads of predatory landlords in Cardiff who basically are doing the same thing to students, where they're like, oh, this blue tack mark, that's gonna cost you money. My first student accommodation when I moved to the UK in Tottenham Ale, basically, they took my entire £700 deposit because there were marks. I kid you not, there might have been like, I left a patch of blue tack, but they took £700 and I didn't know any better, didn't know what I could do. So I think these days in the UK, renters are protected a lot more. The deposit scheme that's currently set up in this country is actually really good, and it's much more difficult for landlords to basically steal your deposit from you. In fact, the place in Chiswick, we got 100% of our deposit back because we lived there for 4 years, so everything was pretty much just wear and tear. When you play match 3 games, like Candy Crush Saga, after beating a few levels, the game will make it impossible for you to continue. You will get impossible odds. If you put your device aside and return after several hours or a day later, well, you will find the previously impossible level to be easy AF. It is a mechanism to prevent people from burning through hundreds of levels in one go. No, I would say it's more of a mechanism to get people to spend money in the game, most definitely. As someone who's worked at different apps that try and get people to spend money, yes, pretty much that. Does this apply to Duolingo too? No. Just learn. It's not, come on now, seriously? Unfortunately, no, Duolingo does not use a characterized pattern of difficulty spikes. The only answer is to get good. Or, será bien. Does that make sense? No, that means he will get good. Obviously, my Spanish, no, está bien. Heartbreaking is the #1 driving behavior identifier of someone being in an accident, so just chill. Seriously, just chill. Don't be defensive, don't be offensive, just be an alert driver. Evan's tip of the day. At Starbucks, they have a recycling and a trash bin. They both go into the dumpster. Same with my old university, same with most Marriott hotels I've been into. It's like greenwashing. They're like, look guys, everything's fine. Open it up, nope, all the same bin. But luckily, like I said, thank God, we've got those paper straws. If you are involuntarily kicked off of a flight over sales, you can demand cash instead of a voucher. Oh, I think that's in the US. In the UK, well, because we still have EU laws for this specific thing, if you are kicked off, oh boy, you do get cash. So that's good. There's a website I use which basically has netted me like 500 pounds from flights being canceled or delayed, where if it's delayed at least 2 hours, this company will basically make sure they fight for you and get you like 200, 300 pounds, and they take 20%. I'll leave a link in the description if I can remember what that was. Most sweet and sour sauce from Chinese restaurants is literally just ketchup, white vinegar, and honey. I don't know, you just ruined it. I don't know, I always thought it was this magical, I don't know what it is. As a freelance photographer, most magazines and newspapers don't pay you for using your photos. They offer you photo credit only. If you ask to be paid, they just get a similar photo from someone else. What a horrible industry. I've gotten paid at this point a couple times. I was reached out to with a certain brand. I took loads of photos for them. They shared them on their Instagram. I made a little bit of money. For me, I just really love taking photos, so I was happy to be involved. But also, I wouldn't necessarily do it for free. You're a brand, you're making money off of my art, so. Now, if you want a YouTube trade secret, the thumbs up button doesn't actually do that much. It's like, thank you, it supposedly helps, but not as much as if you subscribe or ring the bell or something, which actually helps, grow someone's community. So if you want to do any of those things, would very much be appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. I make videos every Sunday, so if you'd like to watch another one, you can, but there'll be another one next week. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week then. Goodbye.